Check it out. Brackets came in today. They're all packaged up still. I'm going to try real quick to get these kind of laid out on the pad where they go. I won't be anchoring them down yet. Fighting the sun to set here. It's about to get dark on me. So anyway, yeah, let me get these laid out and then I'll give you a closer look in the barn here in a minute. Okay, got them all laid out here. This is very rough. I haven't pulled a tape on them. Obviously the spacing's not right, but you can kind of see how this will work. So I'll have the brackets every so often, roughly 8 feet. It's actually going to be a little bit less because remember this is a 50-foot building, which is not divisible by 8. So we'll just shrink all of them. We'll space them evenly, but there'll be one extra set in there. And the way these work, once I get them where I want them, and so I'll line these up with either laser or string or maybe both, and then get my spacing away from the edge of the wall where I want it. And then you set tapcons, probably just use one of these on both sides, right? And that just holds the bracket in place. And then big hole is for one of these big Simpson Titan HD secure tie and bolts. One on this side, one on the other side, so 2 of them for each one. I opted for the 8 inchers. May not look real impressive. I mean, it's almost as long as my boot. So big old bolts. So anyway, and they all came with the columns. And then porch out here, I'll use the same ones just because there's nothing wrong with them. More than I need for the porch, but an end wall here. So you can imagine this will be my shower here. This line somewhere right in here will be the end of the bathroom, and there will be a walkway right here, walk door. So kind of right there, not far from that column. It'll be kind of right here-ish. So anyway, brackets are here. I did just realize that as I was laying these out that I did make one mistake. Not a bad one. It's sort of the good way to make a mistake. But these ones out here on the ends, obviously that doesn't work, right? Because the wall is all the way over here. So this bracket's got to go here, which means the way you do that is you just cut these in half. They sell half brackets, but you can just cut these in half. It's the same thing. I thought about that before I ordered them, but I forgot whenever I ordered them, I guess. And so anyway, I'm going to end up with a couple extra brackets because I have 4 for the 4 corners, and I only need 2 because when I cut them in half, they become 2, right? And then the same thing out here on the porch. I'm going to end up with 1 leftover bracket that's kind of by itself. Now, the other 2, I think I'll go ahead and put in the wall. So I'll have 1 extra truss. But you can see I'll have end truss here, and then regular truss, regular truss, regular. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trusses total, plus 1 more. So I'll end up with 8 trusses all together, and that's all it'll be. And yeah, so I'll get these actually laid out. Like I said, I'm losing the light. We'll get these actually laid out though, and bolted down just with some tapcons, and then we'll come back with a big drill all these in once I figure out exactly where they all go. So all right, I like it. It looks cool with the bracket sitting on it. You can kind of picture the walls a little bit better, I think, right? Where they're going to be, how this whole system's going to work. So let me take one of these back to the hay barn with me, and I want to see how they fit on my columns. Hopefully they fit well, because I went ahead and built, you know, all of them except for a couple. So hopefully this works the way I want it to. I'll go and grab one of these from the porch here. So see you back at the barn in just a second. Alrighty, so that is more or less how this will mount onto my columns. Just remember, this part will be anchored down to the ground, and imagine this vertical instead of horizontal. And you'll see there's 2 small holes on each side, and they're sort of opposite, right? So this one is at the bottom, this one's at the top. It's this side, this one's at the bottom, and this one's at the top. So that's for I'm going to use 5/16 GRT rugged structural screws. They're a lag bolt replacement, and so you level or plumb everything up, run those in there, and that will hold everything in place. And the ones that I've got coming are 4 inches, so they'll come to about here. Right, nice big ones, and 4 of those in each one. And then you drill through the 1/2 inch holes for a 1/2 inch through bolt times 2, and then that's your final connection. And you'll also notice this is a little bit shorter than the actual posts, right, the actual columns. That's intentional. So whenever I set these, I will set them so that the bracket is kind of inset into the wall, not quite this much probably, but something like that. That way it won't ever interfere with my wall girts or anything like that. So, and there's a little bit of tolerance on there. So if I screw up and set the brackets off by just a little bit, there's a slight bit that I can make that up. But I fit really good, which is awesome. One thing I'm noticing on this particular one, you see there's a bit of a gap here. It's this board, the bottom of it's not quite straight. So I think what I will do is go through on all of these and just cut, say, I don't know, 3/4 or so of an inch off the bottom of every single one of them. And I might try that with the miter saw. I think I can get through them all the way if I cut them from both sides. So I might set up and try that this evening just for fun. But I'll cut just a little bit off the bottom of each post, and that way I'll start with a nice square flat bottom. And this is the bottom of all these columns, and I can work on that in the evenings here until I have more daylight on a weekend to actually get my brackets set. So anyway, that's how that works. So bracket, and it's got just enough play. So cool, looks really good. There's a little bit of a gap on that side, but nothing that I'm worried about. I tried it on the top end of the post just to see how it felt, and it was tight on the top, and so I guess my bottom here squeezed together a little bit more. Well, the lumber's not perfect, right? So it could be that the bottom of these boards is a little bit thinner, and that, you know, tolerance stacking and whatnot. So you can kind of see on this one, there's just that little bit right there, and that's what's going on with this one, except at the bottom of this board there's just a touch. Like that one looks pretty good, but they've all got a few little inconsistencies, which I expected, which is why I left my nails a little bit further off the bottom. I didn't sink them right down here next to it because I had a feeling I was going to want to cut through there. So, and it looks like I do. So, all right, we're going to keep this rolling until I get them brackets put down, and so I'll show you some more whenever I get to it. See you then. So I bought this miter saw on eBay. It's a Bosch sliding compound miter saw. It's kind of their older version. The new one has like linkages instead of slides, but does the same thing. Whenever I bought this, I specifically bought a 12-inch sliding compound miter saw because I knew I would need to be able to cut 4.5 thick, 3-ply 2x6s, right? So this is 4.5. Right. And a 12-inch sliding compound miter saw has a capacity to the arbor of like 4 7/8 of an inch or something like that. And a single board, it can cut more. I think it's like 6.5, something like that. But it can cut through the entire 3-ply 2x6 column like this in one pass. But whenever I got it, and I don't know if you can tell looking at it, this is a 10-inch sliding compound miter saw. It's a little bit smaller version, and it can cut to about here. And so just a little bit left over. So then I have to double cut it, and I cut a nail. Whoops. So that's a Bosch blade. It's probably ruined. I have a Diablo one for it if this blade's trashed. But you can see I missed. So I'm going to experiment with this a little bit, but sort of frustrating because I knew I was going to need to do this when I bought this saw, and specifically bought a 12-inch saw. But then when it got here, it was a 10-inch saw. And yeah, I emailed the guy a bunch of times over the course of about a month, and he kept giving me the runaround. And anyway, here we are. It's not the saw that I wanted, and now I need that extra capacity and don't have it. So anyway, I'm going to see. I think what I might end up doing is just cut all of these as far as I can from one side, and then maybe use a different saw. Maybe try a Sawzall. I've got some room to play on this one, so I'm going to try a few different things here, but sort of frustrating. So I meant to have a 12-inch saw just for doing this, but the guy screwed me. So it's one of the few times I've really been screwed on eBay. And not really screwed, actually. It was still a good deal on this saw, but not near as good a deal as if it had been the 12-inch version. But sort of frustrating. But man, and I cut right through that nail. Whoops. I didn't see it there. It was buried in there. But anyway, so this is going to be a little bit more irritating than it needs to be, but yeah, I'll figure it out. So, all right. Let me see what I'm going to do, and then I'll let you know. All right, so this one I finished with a Diablo like metal. Well, it's kind of a general purpose blade. See, it came out pretty good. It's a little bit raggedy though. That blade's kind of old. So this one I tried my Diablo pruning blade, and the bottom didn't come out quite as good, but I think I can figure out how to do a little bit better on that. So it was much faster and left less tear out on the bottom. So I think that's gonna work, be the fastest way. So there's the blade on the Sawzall. Super aggressive 12-inch pruning blade, but cuts nice and fast. And yeah, I think that's gonna work. So now I just need to figure out a more efficient way to handle all these things, because they are heavy and I got a bunch of them. So anyway, all right, let's let me test fit that bracket back up. We'll see how that fits. Well, I'm glad I stopped to check that. Maybe you can see that, but my saw's not cutting straight. It's angled this way. Remember, this was vertical, so it was actually the compound part of the saw was off just a little bit. So I just adjusted it. I'm gonna make a test cut on something else. This one, oh man, those are heavy. My nails are pretty close. Yeah, that one's pretty close. So I kind of got one more try at this one, and then I got to go out here in the middle. You can see on this one, I actually found some of the nails that I had towed in when I first installed those. So, you know, putting that old Bosch blade to work. So, okay, let me try cutting something else real quick, and we'll see if I'm square. Okay, well, I figured it out. It wasn't actually the saw cutting crooked. What's going on is the table right here is it's 3 5/8. I was using a 2x4 down there as a block to hold the other end of the board up, which is roughly 2 1/2. Normally that's enough, but I had to kind of shim it up. A much better fit. Problem is, then my saw fell over and my shims fell out, and this isn't a very good way to set this up, right? So I got to figure out a better way, better workstation here, and then we'll carry on. So not quite sure what I'm going to set up here, because this is all sort of just not accurate at all. Makeshift sawhorses here. So in fact, that one's not even holding anything. All right, it's too short. So anyway, yeah, okay, I got to figure out a better workstation, and then we'll cut all these up. So be back when I figure it out. So I worked on this for a little bit yesterday, squaring up these ends, and I got 4 of them done. The problem is, though, they're kind of a pain, right? Because they're 20-foot long, 2x6s. They're heavy, and they're just long. And so the question is sort of, where do I put them? I don't want to put them back on the trailer yet, because I'm still going to need to go get lumber and sheet metal and stuff at some point. Well, lumber first, I guess. But anyway, I don't want to clog my trailer up with these right now, because then I'll just have to unload them again. Plus, that's out if it rains on them. It's not a huge deal, I guess. But yeah, I'm just going to wait to cut the rest of those up. So I decided until I get closer to ready. Once I get the rest of my stuff here, then I will cut these up as I put them on the trailer, and then get them unloaded onto the slab where they belong. In the meanwhile, this showed up. So this is Sega brand fin trim. It's probably hard to see there. You can kind of see it. Pin trim. So this is a tape that's specifically designed to connect, well, basically anything to concrete. And you could probably use this for most things, but its main purpose, what it's for, is to tape seal from, say, sheathing, like my LP Weather Logic, to concrete. So it's kind of fuzzy. That way, if you're doing a stucco finish or something like that, it's supposed to kind of bite in there and adhere to it. So anyway, excited about that. So that came in, and this is pressure sensitive, so you have to use a squeegee, and you kind of squeegee it on there. Performance building tape. That's who I got this from. So anyway, 2 rolls of that. Pretty excited. So one more thing rather, knocked off the list. Now I need to cut a couple of these brackets in half right down the middle, as I said yesterday. And there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, of course, but I prefer, in this case, Milwaukee metal cutting saw. So I'll try to set this up somewhere where you can see it work and kind of watch it in action, because this thing is sweet. And we'll get these 3 of these brackets, other ones over there, get 3 of these sliced in half. And so this is the north, south side of the building, and then the porch, the ends of the porch there, half brackets. So give me a second. We'll figure this out, and then I'll cut one of them in half real quick. So Sharpie mark, not the most accurate line in the world, and still got my Diablo Steel Demon blade on there. Love these blades. Same blade that made hundreds of cuts in rebar already, and still going. Let's see how it does here. Hopefully it don't let me down. Just awesome. The quality of that cut is beautiful. Just a hint of a burr on it, but not bad. And obviously completely cool to the touch. So it's not like a angle grinder or something that's going to get real hot on you, or a torch obviously that burns the paint and stuff like that. It's just super clean, super easy. Do another one real quick. Love this thing. Frame. Well, these are pretty beefy brackets. And that's yeah, 1/4 inch. So 1/4 inch material, and 5.5 or 5 inches across. I mean, just lickety split. One more to do. Might as well do it here. Super cool. Awesome. Love that thing. Man, that works good. So, yep. And just clean, straight. Don't get any straighter than that. Well, unless I missed it, I guess. Yeah, pretty dang good. So, anyway, love that saw. Oh, okay, those are done. And, all right, well, yeah, probably see you guys tomorrow. We'll lose the light again. Anyway, we'll go get these set back out there and start getting everything lined up and ready to bolt down. So back working on getting these brackets put where they go. And the first thing I need to do, though, was fix some areas in my concrete here that were a little bit off. I already fixed this spot here just with a grinder. It's still a little bit weird, but it's not as far off as I thought. That little dog leg was actually more or less in the correct spot, and there's a part here that's kicked in is what's actually going on. So the line itself is straight, but it's not square. Once I actually pulled tape measures and made some marks for where square was, then realized that yeah, it wasn't nearly as bad as what I thought. So it's kind of all averaged out, and it's going to be okay. This side, however, and I got to double check some measurements here. It's really hard to see. You're not going to be able to see that chalk line here where my mark is. Like I said, I got to double check this real quick, but this is actually square, right? So it's 2 inches different over here in this corner compared to that corner. So I'm gonna double check that, make sure that is the truth. But if it is, I think I will go ahead and cut this square. I think I'll be happier that way. It's going to take a little while, probably an hour or two. But I think I'll be happier. Like I said, I think I like that better. So that's what I'm going to do. Check that. Cut it square. I got a Diablo blade on the Milwaukee grinder here. And a 12 amp hour battery in it. So we'll see if that's enough to get it done. So let me pull some tapes out real quick and make sure that that's the line that I want. And if it is, I'll shoot some time lapse of a bunch of grinding. Well, killed my 2 biggest batteries, so I'll get them charged real quick. That's kind of ugly at the moment. I'll clean it up though. But it's working pretty good. That Diablo blade's a beast. That thing's just cutting, I mean, as deep as I can cut. Pretty quick, pretty easy. So anyway, good thing for the rapid charger. We'll get these batteries on the charger. They'll be ready in about 30 minutes. So I'll be back. almost there. Batteries are dead again. I just got to finish cleaning this up, and then I've got a different kind of disc that I'll clean everything up with a little bit better. But I think it came out pretty good. It's close enough anyway. Better than it was. So, pretty amazing battery tools these days. It's pretty jagged looking, but I'll clean it up a little bit better. It won't really matter. I just want the building to be a little bit more square. The idea here, though, is that the sheet metal the side steel will go down below the concrete down there. So I'll have a trim that flashes down to that little shelf that I'm cutting in there. And I'd intended to do it that way anyway. And then the way my forms worked out, I kind of didn't have that. So this works out a little bit better. Actually, it's going to give me that shelf that I wanted, at least on this side. Yeah, so anyway. Yeah, pretty amazing. A few years ago, if you'd asked me, I'd have told you that on an angle grinder, a battery-powered one was useless and didn't have any place just because the battery technology wasn't good enough. But a few years ago, I guess, maybe that would have been true. But anymore, battery tools, or the batteries themselves, are so good, especially if you got the big ones, the 8, 9 amp hour, 12 amp hour, whatever, those bigger batteries, they just do really well. And a ton of power there is great. So I was wrong a few years ago, or at least I would be today. So all right, we'll charge these batteries back up. That's the other thing, is the battery chargers are better too, like the rapid chargers and stuff, that they can get you back up and running in like 15-20 minutes. Pretty cool. If you got more than just a handful of batteries, you almost don't have to stop. You just go put them on the charger and use the next ones, and then by the time the next set's dead, then the other ones will be charged and you can just keep running. So anyway, we'll go put these on the charger, and hopefully my other ones will be done. And yeah, we'll get this part finished up here. Okay, back working on getting these anchors, or the brackets set. And I've got this wall here done, so you can see how that works. Big bolt, I can kind of see it. Here, you can see this one. So, 2 smaller tack-ons, then the big Simpson secure tie. So I'm gonna work on this wall next. Now this is sort of the most important step of this whole building, because this determines whether or not my building is actually square. So I've got to get this right. So really gonna take my time here and pull a whole bunch of measurements over and over and over again, make sure that I like everything. I've got to get the spacing off of, I've got my string line here, so I've got to get the spacing off of that string line correct, so that where this bracket is, the columns themselves are a 1/2 inch wider, so they'll stick out a 1/4 inch, plus 1.5 inch 2x6 wall girt, plus 7/16 sheathing that goes on the outside. And even though my concrete's not perfect, you can see some areas like right here, I'll be able to make up for that with the tape. Whenever I seal it, it'll be okay. So I've just got to get all this sort of correct. So I've got a little cut-off piece of a column, so you can see how it's just a little bit wider. I think you can see that. Yeah, it's a little bit wider than the actual brackets. And then I've got my number figured out, which is written down on the concrete here as 2 3/16 off of the string line. Once I get this one set up, I'll have to make sure that this is nice and square. Do the same thing on this wall here, make sure it's all awesome and square. And then of course this, I will probably go ahead and wait on putting in the brackets for the porch out here. I don't think I need to put those in quite yet, so I'm just going to hold off on those, I think, for the time being. But those will get put in the exact same way. So all right, I'm going to set up a time lapse here, and just going to pull a bunch of tape measure over and over and over again, make sure that I like everything, make sure we're square and straight and awesome. So here we go. from Diablo. It's a drill bit that's got a vacuum attachment on here, and so it will actually suck all the dust out from the bottom of the hole, and it seems to work pretty good. I did have it get kind of clogged up on one of these first ones that I did, but I'll show you how that works real quick. They don't make ones small enough for those tap con holes. This is a 5/8 drill bit, which is the size for those these big guys here. Titan HD secure ties. Simpson. And I'm just running my little Milwaukee vac here. Pretty cool. I'm just using my Freak to drive these. Bosch Freak. There it is, just like that. So, yeah, works pretty good. So we got to drill all these. It's quite a big hole for that size hammer drill, but it does it fine. I think it's rated for even a little bit bigger one. So I think it'll do like I don't remember, 1.25 inches or something like that is what it's rated for. But anyway, all right, take off and do all these now. All right, well, my batteries are dying and I got to go do chores anyway, feed cows and stuff. We'll be losing the light soon, so we'll get batteries on the charger. But I think we'll end this video off here. But so this side, this wall is done. This wall's almost done. I got 8 of those bigger holes, or 8 of those bigger screws put in. Battery's still good on the hammer drill, but my battery on my driver that just died. So anyway, got like 7 more holes to drill on this wall, and then tomorrow I'll get that wall and this side laid out, and then layout for the brackets will be done. So kind of cool. Kind of see how this is gonna look now. Starting to sort of come together. So pretty cool. It looks like where my power's stubbed up is perfect. It's gonna be just to the side of that bracket over there, so I don't think it'll be in my way. A little bit worried about that. My spacing ended up shrinking just a little bit. I put one more set of columns and one more truss than I'd initially planned. So anyway, the next step will be laying out the height of all the walls. So that'll be the next video. So until then, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.